Well, thanks to one of the storms a couple of weeks ago, we've got a bonus mini midweek championship predictions coming up today. We've got one game to look forward to, which was curtailed a couple of Friday nights ago between Rotherham United and Ipswich Town. We'll get to that game in a moment, but firstly, a very quick update to say we'll do the full recap for matchday 15 on Thursday when we've got another full fixture list to look forward to. So for now, as always, I'll encourage you to get your score predictions for this midweek game down in the comments below. If you beat or match my prediction, you'll get a shout out in the next recap, as well as all of those of you who beat me on matchday 15, of which I'm sure there'll be plenty at the time of recording. But let's go and move on to our feature game, which is a one-off this Tuesday night. It is Rotherham United versus Ipswich Town. Two sides competing at very different ends of the table, and one side in their second year back in the Championship, against a side in their first. But as we said a moment ago, that's not leading to similar results because this is third bottom v second top, and both sides actually come into this one off a draw. On Saturday afternoon, Rotherham had a bit of a difficult situation. They were facing the new manager bounce at QPR. Marty Cifuentes took charge of his first game there, and we knew they were going to be up for it. We knew there was going to be a bit more excitement. We knew there were going to be a bit more possession for the away side, and Rotherham were going to have to deal with a bit of an onslaught, which at times they did. But they hung in the game, they fought hard, and while they were probably second best for the most part, they did probably have two or three of the best four chances in the game. And in the end, one of the substitutes contributed to a draw, which is always nice for a manager, and Rotherham do pick up a point. But if we're being completely honest, it's not really an ideal result for either of those teams on the day, because both of them now still have the gap to the teams above the relegation zone. So not really that helpful for either side in the end, and particularly for Rotherham. We've mentioned it quite a few times already this season. They are going to be so reliant on their home form if they're to stay up. I liken it almost to Nottingham Forest in the Premier League last year, because Rotherham away from home are just shambolic at the minute. They're so poor defensively. They score very few goals. I mean, they've scored the least and conceded the most away from home. It's not an ideal combination. 1 point from 7 away games. I think we know where their priorities lie. At home, they've not been brilliant, but they have got a positive goal difference. They have picked up 9 points. And with this game, they could take a huge step towards catching the teams outside the relegation zone. Because with that gap at the moment, well, it's already at 5 points. You'd like to see them pick up 3 and maybe put a bit of pressure on. Otherwise, with QPR appointing a new manager, Sheffield Wednesday doing the same, you could see that bottom 3 almost in a tussle, not competing with anyone at the minute. So for Rotherham, home form is going to be crucial. And normally, the team you'd want to come up against is one that's promoted from League One. Well, not on this occasion, because Ipswich, yes, they've had a bit of a mixed week, but they've had a super start to the season. They beat Plymouth last weekend in a thrilling game against one of their fellow promoted teams. They lost pretty disappointingly against Fulham in the Cup. They changed a few players, but they were really poor in their performance that day. Fulham hit the woodwork countless times as well. But against Birmingham at the weekend, probably both worrying signs and exciting signs, because again, it was a story of players off the bench making a difference. Again, it was a story of staying in the game and fighting back, but they went 2-0 down to a Birmingham side who had been lacking in confidence under Wayne Rooney, had not really been able to deliver so far. And they were pretty poor in the first half, it's got to be said. They were, though, definitely revolutionised by changes. A triple sub in the 72nd minute, which included both Ladapo Scala and the double goal scorer Marcus Harness coming on. We also then saw Twanzebe come on late on, who got an assist just 2 minutes later. It was a very good comeback from Ipswich Town. It keeps that little unbeaten run going, and given what happened in the Leicester Leeds game the night before, does preserve a little bit more of their cushion in second place. But let's be honest, at the start of the season, I know a lot of people tipped Ipswich to maybe challenge for the playoffs. The top 2 was probably beyond expectation. It's been a brilliant run. It's a good unbeaten run now as well. They're actually the only side alongside Southampton unbeaten in the last 6 now, but that's the nature of the Championship, isn't it? And we've got in Ipswich the highest goal scorers in the division, but we've mentioned the caveat to this before. Ipswich at home, very high scoring, pretty high conceding, very entertaining games. And I know it was an exception a bit on Saturday, but on the road, Ipswich this season, 7 games, undefeated, 9 scored, 4 against. The best defensive record on the road, the worst attacking record of the top 9 away teams in the division. They're just grinding out wins on the road, and it's a little bit different to what you perhaps expect when you watch their games at home. So it's going to be a bit of an interesting game this to see whether Ipswich are able to impose their style. It is the sort of game where if they get a goal or two up, they could go and run away with it. But Rotherham have been much better at sticking in the game at home, and as a result, I think this will be a fairly tight affair. If I think back to the game a week and a half ago, or 2.5 weeks ago, when it was supposed to be, I'm pretty sure I went for a 2-1 Ipswich win. And to be honest with you, there's not much deterring me from that thought. There is a good chance this could be a Championship's favourite scoreline. I don't think there's going to be a huge amount in it. And Ipswich, obviously, with the extra game in midweek for the Cup last week, they've had that build-up of fixtures. They've been playing midweeks constantly, whereas Rotherham have only played 3 games in a month. So very different schedules in the last fortnight for both of them. Ipswich may be a little more fatigued, but I'm going to back them to just come out on top in this one. Just find a way to get the 3 points. But regardless, to be honest, Kieran McKenna's doing a wonderful job. Ipswich are exciting to watch, particularly at home. And Rotherham, they've got a scrap on their hands. They've got 2 new managers below them. They've got a few above that are starting to pick up points and pull away. They've got to get a result, but I don't think it's coming. I'm going for Rotherham United 1, Ipswich Town 2. But that's just what I've gone for. You can let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree with that. As I mentioned earlier, if you do beat or match my score, you'll get a shout out in a recap on Thursday's episode as we look ahead to the whole weekend action. But in the meantime, we will be back on Wednesday with a Premier League preview and predictions for the full fixture list, as well as a look ahead to Manchester United v Luton, off to Old Trafford rather than some of the lower league Manchester grounds. It's a bit of a treat for us in our first Premier League season. But for now, let us know your score predictions down in the comments. If you go into the game, I hope you enjoy it. Subscribe and turn that notification bell on to stay up to date with everything. We'll be back with more Championship predictions on Thursday, probably with manager specials from Bristol City and Millwall before then. But that was our mini look ahead to Rotherham United versus Ipswich, and we'll be back here on Thursday for the full fixture list. Thanks for watching.